Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Last Week in Denmark. I know some of you think that this podcast is an audio version of the newsletter, where we basically read out loud the newsletter. Actually, no, it is a commentary on 1, 2, 3, 4 main topics from the newsletter, and we try to basically explain or have opinions on those situations from our own life perspectives as internationals living in Denmark. And luckily, our podcast cast is quite diverse, so this allows for a variety of opinions during our episodes. But anyway, I just wanted to make a short intermezzo before we start. We are already at episode 16. My name is Narcis George Matak, and I'm here together with
Kalpita Bhosle. That's me.
Hello, Kalpita, and I'm glad that we are getting to do another episode together.
Yeah, last one was fun. This is going to be even better.
And this one is special because we are actually recording close to midnight. Well, not really, it's 9:30, but still.
Yeah, true. True.
It's the latest episode we ever recorded. So if you feel our voices to be less energetic, it's only because there is no light outside. But then again, once the winter comes, there's never is any light outside. So
I know, but it is the start of summer, right? And there should be some kind of light. Over here it's just been horribly windy and grey and very, very unpleasant. It feels almost like an autumn day than a spring summer day.
today here in the north was sun. Like beautiful day.
Oh yeah, you got some garden work done, haven't you?
Exactly.
Wow, lucky you.
I mean, only yesterday was a bit strange because it was very cold, but the rest of the week was very sunny, and I had days where I simply went outside and just had lunch outside.
Oh my god.
I eaten outside, Kapita, not inside four
Wow.
walls.
Wow.
Can you understand what that
Yeah,
means?
I'm sitting here really, really jealous because I can't sit outside. It is incredibly windy, and if it's not windy, it's either raining or it's very, very cold. Like it's supposed to be 15, 16 degrees, but it feels like 8, and that's not fun at all.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But enough about sun. Let's see what our 3 main topics are for today. So today we're going to start by talking about the new laws that are targeting basically people who have lost their residence permit in Denmark. Then we're going to go into talking about how you as an entrepreneur can protect your business ideas, especially if others could copy it and replicate your model. And then we're going to end with talking about low income kids and how they can get support to basically enjoy the same quality of life as the other children from more, let's just say, lucky families. But let's start with the first topic, the one that seems to be the most difficult. The government has announced that they want to tighten the rules, so this is just a desire, a proposal. It's not yet passed. They expect this could pass at the end of the year. They basically want to make it hard for people who lost their residence permit due to being deported, due to various other reasons that could make you lose your residence. And they basically want to make it illegal for them to live normally and have access to public services like driving, registering company, going to school, using the healthcare system. Basically, the message from the government is that if you shouldn't be here, you shouldn't be able to live a normal life here.
Mm-hmm.
And it all started, to be honest, after a horrific car accident, where a person that was on the list to be deported, that lives in one of those deportation centers, was driving and had an accident and killed someone because of bad driving, and that triggered a whole outrage in society, that someone that it was supposed to be deported was still able to like live a normal life in Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
And that triggered basically this reaction from the government. So that's where it all started, you can say. But my biggest fear, Kalpita, here is, okay, I understand that people that lose their resident permit because they are on the way to be deported cannot do certain things. But the way they describe it is a bit different, because if you read on the website of the Ministry of Integration, it says people living in the country without legal residence, or that is more than just people who are on the way to be deported, right?
Yeah, that could be people who are seeking asylum. It could also be people who come here without any documentation and then seek legitimation in another country, which is also sort of like a asylum as well. I think this is yet another step in so many leaps and bounds that the government has taken, especially the foreign ministry and the immigration ministry, with regards to making it tougher and tougher to get into Denmark. Not just physically, but also on legal bounds. This also sort of smells of it as well, because now they're not just extending it to driving licenses and stuff like that, but you cannot get any health facilities and services either, which is like really doubling down on how strict they plan to get and they want to get. But at the same time, it's also, push the limits as much as possible and make it as strict as possible, debate it, and then get maybe a compromised position on how that should be handled. But they also talk in this release that they're also taking the scope for a knife act. We're not allowed to walk around with a knife, especially in housing residence accommodations and stuff like that.
Well, the Knife Act, it basically applies to the areas run by the Ministry of Integration, Immigration. So, not in general. It doesn't mean that now I cannot no longer have a knife, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in my house.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's about possessing, and carrying knives in accommodation facilities, which is also, I think, something to consider, because it's also sounds that it's coming from a lot of, youth violence going on in the cities, and a lot coming from over the borders as well, even if, they're still part of society, but they are making unlawful actions and causing a lot of unrest in Denmark, especially border control and stuff. So I think there's a lot that's going on in this particular debate, and I'm interested to see who says what, because this seems like most people agree with what is being proposed. But I do hope it is not as, I think everyone deserves healthcare, even if we're paying for it through our taxes. But on a human level, everyone deserves healthcare.
I mean, what concerns me the most is that you can lose your legal status through other ways besides being a criminal. Your visa can expire. I don't know, the conditions that you were fulfilling before are not fulfilled anymore. So basically, that if you lived here for years, but then you lost your legal status, you're just suddenly locked out of everyday life, right? It's like from driving to studying. So it bothers me that they're not more clear. They could have made the law more clear, like more directly targeted at people who are on the way to be deported due to criminal activities. Point. Targeting people who have visa expired,
Mm-hmm.
they could fall under the same law, because
Yeah.
they don't think of everyone else who could be in the same situation. I'm a European, so this law doesn't even touch us, because as a European citizen, you can be in any European country for 3 months at least without needing a legal residence. So this law cannot target our right to drive or register a company or whatever. But if I'm not a European, so if I come from outside of Europe, while can I even? That's a question to you, Kalpita. Can you even enter the country if you don't have yet a residence permit?
No, I can maybe apply for a short term visa, or if I'm already in Denmark, then I still need to go to the immigration ministry or whatever council and get a temporary stay if they agree to have me here. Otherwise, I just get sent back home. And that doesn't just apply to people like me who's been here and have residence permit, but it also applies to people who work here and have expired work permits, or students who are on student visa, got a job, and then they need to renew their visa, but for whatever reason either got fired or their work visa is expired. It affects them as well. I recently spoke to somebody who is in a similar situation and can perhaps extend the visa for about 6 months. And this person was just recently laid off and is desperately looking for a job, so they don't have to be sent back after living here for, I think it was 9 years or something, and working the whole time, paying taxes, taking an education, and doing all the right things. But they also stand to go back if they are not able to fulfill the criteria. And that applies to all visa holders. I think they give you a certain criteria, especially if you have come in earlier within, I came in around 2016, so the criteria for me is also a bit strict, even after being here for about 9 to 10 years and being married to a Danish person. That totally does not count, even if you're a working tax-paying person.
Kalpita, even if your visa expires tomorrow, right, there will be nobody who comes to look for you and send you home. That's not possible. It's not like they know, oh, your visa expired, let me find you, right?
No, not really. It really depends what visa you have. I know there are some green card schemes that are still active, so maybe you do get checked in by the police if they have the time for it, obviously, and if you have a criminal record. I mean, to be fair, especially in Copenhagen, if you really need the police to have the time to come and pick you up because you don't have a residence permit or your visa is expired. I mean, good luck if you're driving and all of that, because they're all over the place checking your licenses and paperwork and stuff. So at some point, if not now, very soon, you would get caught or picked up.
But basically, at the moment, as far as I understand, if you don't have a resident permit, but you had it, you still have all those rights that you had when you had it. So basically, from driving to studying to going to the doctor to basically everything that you can do with a residence permit, you can still do it even after it expires because the system doesn't know. And that's why they want to update the CPR system basically now,
Yeah.
so that it raises a flag. Hey, this guy is without legal stay. So then the institutions can deny services automatically. It will take a while, obviously, for this system to be updated. I mean, it's not that simple, but it's just it is interesting that yes, your visa has expired, but unless you have someone actually bothering to ask you, hey, is your permit still valid? I don't know. Have you ever been asked ever by any authority if your permit is still valid?
No, not about my permit. Never I have been asked. But I mean, I would I would assume that would show up in the healthcare system, right? Like they would ask you for your CPR number, and
Yeah, but the CPR number right now doesn't say that you have expired visa. It cannot
no,
see that.
no, it just shows you your personal information. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they want to update it now because, to be honest, the CPR system and the residence permit system, they're not touching each other.
No, not right now. But then it
No.
also, I have to. I mean, it is a bit skeptical, but I have to admit that it also smells a bit fishy of targeting a particular group of internationals in Denmark, because, like you said, everyone from EU doesn't really have to be so worried about it. But those coming from other countries that are not EU, basically getting labor work here or coming here and then looking for a job because that's the best possibility and best chance they can take. I would assume it is targeting those groups mainly to try and not have them settle in, because we want quality, and that applies everywhere. I think it's all. I must admit, I feel it is a bit biased towards a certain group of people in society.
But for me, it's the one big change that it worries me that it might go in the wrong direction is that people without legal stay will no longer be allowed to register businesses, which I'm afraid it might affect people who don't live in Denmark who want to register a business in Denmark. Because right now it's possible. You don't actually have to live in Denmark to register a business in Denmark.
Yeah, but I don't get why anyone would want to register a business in Denmark. I mean, the taxes alone. I mean, seriously, why do you want to register a business in Denmark?
It's because when you do business in Denmark, it's a lot better when you try to sell a certain price to the customers, especially in B2B, is to say, hey, I'm a registered Danish business. That's already is a huge step in credibility and in the price you're asking. They can be like, okay, why is it so high? Well, because it's a Danish business, even though maybe the product or the service is actually coming from Portugal. It's just another trick, But that's why a lot of people are trying to register like companies here in Denmark. And again, if you don't take the money out of the company, it's not that bad actually in terms of taxation. And with this, I think it's good that we move on to the second subject while we're talking about companies. If you're starting a business in Denmark, you might consider that you want to protect your logo, your brand, or your product idea. You should be happy because if you ever try to get copyrights or to get a patent, you probably have seen just how difficult that is. Even though there was, let's just say, subsidies in this direction from the government, it's still a lengthy and difficult process usually. Good news for those of you who live out of innovation. The government just launched a new support scheme called IP Fast Track that will offer free help with registering your trademark or design. So basically, this is part of a broader push to make life easier for small entrepreneurs. So clearly, the government wants to make it even easier to do business in Denmark. We are already known abroad as one of the countries where is the easiest to start a business. And I guess this is another step in the right direction. After all, the small and medium businesses are the lifeblood of Denmark, even though, yes, we have big companies like the pharma sector, right? They are the ones who are making our growth and making us on plus compared to all the other neighbors that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean this is interesting. I don't know what to think about it. What do you think about it, Kalpita?
I think it's amazing. I fully support it. I think it's very, very important that from an international perspective that people get the support they need. One thing, it's navigating the complex tax system even if you want to start a business, but it's also another to know how to launch a business and how you can actually protect it, because there are so many people with such amazing and great ideas that actually can make a difference, not just in terms of economy but also in terms of what they bring, to say protect the environment or services and stuff like that. I also find it very interesting that even creative people get to take benefit of this, because there are people out there who create things with their hands, with their minds, and designs and stuff like that in all aspects, and their credibility needs to be protected as well. I remember, this is not a startup example, but there was this example of this ceramist who made these really, really amazing stone looking dishes and bowls and stuff like that, and it was copied by a bigger company, and then they made it commercial, and they made a lot more money by copying his designs blatantly, and there was no law for it. So I think it is incredibly important and necessary that such support is available and there is protection of ideas as well, because if you think of it economically also, it really helps keep all that great stuff within Denmark. And if the idea doesn't kick off, that idea can always be taken and built on because of patent or copyright or so on. And I think that also is, just to go back to the whole first topic that we spoke about, helping startups and immigrants and people coming into the country only to start businesses, is also something that is going to encourage people to actually come in, even if there is this new law that they're debating about not giving these rights to people only to start businesses, as you pointed out, Narcis. I think this protection of intellectual ideas and everything in and around that vein, and people coming in and starting businesses is going to be a game changer, I think, in terms of economy. And not a game changer like Trump says it's a game changer, but this is really great for business, small businesses especially, but also big businesses, because we will get investments. I mean, Denmark is a gold mine when it comes to making startups and growing them, even Scandinavia for that matter. So I'm all for it, and I really curious to see how that grows. Maybe 3 years, 5 years down the line, we're talking about it again, Narcis.
Yeah, I mean, we have to understand why they got to this place is because we right now a lot of companies, especially new companies, live out of reputation of the founder. So maybe the founder wrote a book, is very influential on social media, and then it builds a company and tries to make money out of it. Or a brand has built a really good, let's just say, social media presence, and they use that to basically generate income. So when name, logo, design, reputation, when all of this now has become so important to establishing a business in Denmark, I'm not surprised to see that the government wants people to be more protective of trademarks and designs, especially because they understood now that in itself a good brand name has a lot of value, but it's very difficult to protect it. It's very difficult to sell it because it's very difficult to protect. So to kind of encourage the entrepreneurial system, they decided to do this. So bravo to the business ministry, and I hope that they don't stop here because
Yeah.
I hope they will think also how to make it, because one thing is to protect ideas and trademarks, but another thing is to generate them, because unfortunately a lot of the, I just say, business ideas that I meet in the entrepreneurial ecosystem that we have here in Denmark with internationals, a lot of those ideas are not technically so much rooted into innovation. A lot of people just want to create a job for themselves, and that's fair, that's fine. So that's not a big thing, but a lot of internationals are not willing to pursue any risk towards creating an idea. So they prefer something tangible. Okay, I know how to do this. I'm gonna sell this to be able to get enough money to live. But if you were to tell them, hey, try this grand idea, maybe it will fail. Most likely it will fail, but you can actually succeed with it, and then bring or innovate a certain field. Or I'm not saying that there are no internationals doing that, but I'm just saying that 80% of all ideas that I meet in the entrepreneurial ecosystem are not really grand ideas that will revolutionize a certain sector or innovate any parts of it. So I'm just hoping that the government could also think of how can we stimulate innovation among international entrepreneurs, and how can we give them the peace of mind that will allow them to take risk. Kalpita, what will allow you to become an entrepreneur?
Well, firstly, I need to be brave enough to take the leap. So, for me, the first step is to begin with myself. Although I do know there are a few organizations in Denmark that support, train, and mentor, guide women, especially, but also anyone who is interested in becoming an entrepreneur, irrespective of what the idea is and where you want to take it. As long as you have an idea, they will help you with growing it, starting the business, and support you along the way, and sometimes even find investors whenever you're ready for it. So there is support out there, but that is private. I think when it comes from the government, it legitimizes a lot of things, and it also makes it easier to find information and to go and seek help and know where to go. I mean, finding private companies is not a problem. You just do a bit of social media and a Google search and stuff, and then you find them. But when it comes from the government, you don't really owe them anything. You just get information, which you should, because it is good for the economy. But at the same time, it is also something that Denmark long time coming doing the smart thing now, because they are losing entrepreneurs and ideas to the US, unfortunately. Everyone, most people actually, with good ideas that start the business here want to go or is forced to go out of Denmark and then grow the business. And most eyes look towards the USA. Having said that, even patents are mainly registered in the US because that gives them supposedly more credibility and a lot more exposure compared to being registered over here. Of the people that I have met and spoken to, I could be wrong, but then we are also in a phase where we are trying to create independence in business and economy and not be reliant on the rest of the Western world. We want to be within ourselves doing better and greater and not being at the same time reliant on the big wigs that make most part of our tax-paying economy.
Definitely. And I think simply if the government will create some sort of, if you are unemployed, you're in the situation of being a job seeker, maybe you should be allowed to test a business idea while you are unemployed. So basically, instead of searching for a job, you should also have the option to start a company, given the same time limit, of course, just like if you're searching for a job, but you shouldn't have the responsibility of searching a job. Simply, you should be allowed to try to start a company. And I have a feeling that this might be a much more successful program than others. But we are low on time and we need to go into the third topic. We have more than 40,000 children in Denmark that unfortunately have a parent on social welfare, which is the famous kontanthjälp. And unfortunately, as you can imagine, a lot of them are missing out on going to sport clubs, to all sort of after school activities, because all of those things cost money. So now the government has decided to spend 41 million kronas to create this funding support scheme. So that will be run by six NGOs, six associations, and they will try to help kids join clubs, attend activities, and feel like they're part of the community. Because when the parents don't have money to send you to anything, well, you tend to just go outside and see what's happening at best case scenario, or you just tend to sit inside and look at your phone. If you look at your phone, that's one way of a development. If you go outside and you find other people who might not be in the best, let's just say, ideas, you might end up in the wrong crowd. So being in a sport club, I think, should be a right for children. To be honest, I feel like the state should just subsidize these clubs directly instead of spreading money to some kids and other kids. Just subsidize the clubs directly and make it a duty. Literally make it a duty that every child needs to go to a sport club, regardless of what sport that is. What do you think, Kalpita? Would you support that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's very, very important for kids to hang around with other kids, especially of their own age. And if that means that they're playing a sport or whatever else within the physical activity realm is incredibly important, not just for their physical and mental development, but also for them to have this development of teamwork and competition and how to take a loss, how to celebrate a win, all of these social cues that come with being in playing sports and being in a team is so important for making better leaders and making better thinking individuals for our own future, really, and also for themselves, of course.
Yeah, but what do you think about us subsidizing all sports clubs?
Oh yeah, I mean, I fully support that. I think anything within the health care of children, whether it's sports clubs or mental health for that matter, I think should be subsidized, because I mean they are our future, as cliche as that might sound, and supporting them is only in our benefit because we're making them well-rounded citizens. I think I'd say take my money.
Well, if you're a parent in this situation where you simply can't afford to give your child the same opportunities and the same experiences as its classmates, I suggest you look at the newsletter this weekend and try to see which are the 6 different organizations. I can tell you 2 of them. It's Red Cross and Save the Children, the Red Barnet organization, and just see what can they do for your child, because that's the whole idea. They should be able to support your child join some sort of activity / sports after school program, which is paid by them via these funding programs from the state. So if you are in such a situation, don't be shy. That's how Denmark functions. If you are in a tight spot, you should be able to use these opportunities so that your child gets to experience the same life as the other children living here who are in a more lucky situation or a more middle class families, let's just say. And with this, I guess, Kalpita, we have ended our time. We went a little bit above the 30 minutes mark, but I think we managed to go through all 3 subjects. So I would just say thank you for this time, and I'm looking forward to the next episode with you, Kalpita.
Yes.
And in general, the next episode within the Last Week in Denmark podcast. It was a pleasure. Until next time.
Thank you.